Thank you, Dan. Good morning, colleagues. For those who are joining from Brulak region, and good afternoon for the colleagues from Europe and Africa region, and good evening even to the colleagues that are joining us from Asia region. We would like to thank you for accepting our invitation to join this webinar. We welcome you all to this first webinar on PIC Circular organized by the Secretariat of Rotterdam Convention. As you may be aware, we have been reaching out to the parties through workshops, national stakeholders, consultation on a number of core issues relating to the implementation of Rotterdam Convention. Well, due to the current pandemic, we are trying to reach out you virtually through online platforms. I have with me my colleague, Mr. Alexander Mihailovsky, from the FAO part of the Rotterdam Convention from Rome, and Mr. Dan Darjeev, who is providing technical support to run this webinar, and who welcomed you already. And my name is Suman Sharma. I'm joining from the UNEP part from the part of the Rotterdam Convention, the BRS Secretariat in Geneva. The PIC Circular is put together by a team on PIC Circular, comprising both FAO Rome and UNEP Geneva team. This beautiful picture, you might have noticed that was on the website when we had published our 50th PIC Circular in December. You may be aware that the voluntary PIC procedure was in place a decade earlier than the Rotterdam Convention even came into existence. And about the same time, PIC Circular started being published, compiling information from the countries and shared it in order to implement the voluntary PIC procedure. As you are aware, the PIC Circular is published every 6 months, precisely on 12th of June and 12th of December in English, French, and Spanish. The circular is sent out to the parties through wafer card with a cover letter and is published also on the website, convention website, from where it can be downloaded. More on the structure of the PIC Circular, what it contains, and what and how the information is organized, etc. You'll hear it from my colleague Alexander after me. This presentation will be around 25 to 30 minutes, which will be followed by a question and answer, as Dan mentioned you. And however, even during this presentation, and though you will have a question and answer session after the presentation, but if you have a pressing question, or if you feel like that you might forget it later, you can raise your hand, as Dan explained you how to do that. And towards the end of the session, you will be sent the presentation and a set of evaluation questionnaire on PIC Circular for you to complete soon after this session. Please take some moment to complete it. Your inputs are crucial for us to further improve our efforts towards serving you. With this, I now invite my colleague Alexander to take the floor. Alec, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Suman, for these nice opening words and introduction into today's webinar. And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on which part of the world our participants are coming that decided to join in today's session of the PIC Circular. I will now continue with the presentation. As you can see in the first starting slide, the content of the presentation is basically following the natural order and the table of contents of the PIC Circular itself. And you can see with the introduction, the first bullet point is what's the purpose of the PIC Circular that biannually is being published by the Secretariat, followed by the implementation of the Rotterdam Convention in the introduction part of the PIC Circular, plus the additional information that we have, followed by the 6 appendices. I will showcase you all the appendices one by one, which are basically containing the backbone information provided by the respective parties of the Rotterdam Convention to the Secretariat, which in accordance to the PIC procedure and the information exchange mechanism under the Convention is being shared to all the parties, DNAs and other stakeholders. Then in the end, I will mention the cover letter and the DNA register that comes together as part of the PIC Circular, information sharing package, both sent to you via post and also available at the website, also mailed out to you every 12th June and 12th of December, twice a year. And then we're going to finish the presentation with questions and answers concluding the today's session. So what is the main purpose of the PIC Circular? The circular is a key document important for the implementation of the Rotterdam Convention, and it's an essential segment of the 2 main fundamental provisions of the Convention. And those are both the operation of the PIC procedure and information exchange on hazardous chemicals. And basically the purpose of the PIC Circular is to provide all the parties through the designated national authorities with the information that is required in some key articles of the Convention text. And those are articles number 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 13, and 14. And I will link those articles when I go throughout the presentation. The PIC Circular that you already received via email, 12th of June, contains the information that is related to and is received during the period from 1st of November previous year, 2019, up to 30th of April 2020. And the information that is received after 30th of April 2020 will be included in the next PIC Circular. The following one that is supposed to be published in December basically will contain the information received or submitted by the parties, by the DNAs, from 1st of May until 30th of October. The next slide is basically providing you the information on what is the content of the PIC Circular, and considering that the PIC Circular is shared to all the parties and designated national authorities after the part of the introduction that provides the purpose of the PIC Circular, we have a part talking about the main implementation aspect of the Rotterdam Convention. And those are falling under the full responsibilities of the parties and actually US DNAs, or the institutions that are exercising the administrative functions that are required by the Convention, allowing communication with the Secretariat and also communication between the parties itself, which is important for the implementation of the Convention at national level. And here basically is described the operation of both the prior informed consent procedure and the information exchange for each of the relevant articles of the Convention. Basically here listed all the articles important for the implementation of the Convention. Under each of the bullet points you are seeing listed on this slide, under the implementation or in logical order represented each of the steps that parties need to undertake in order to successfully implement the Convention, starting with the obligation to first, let's say, notify the Secretariat on the designation or the changes of the national authority, and this is done in accordance with Article 4. Then the obligation under Article 5 and Annex 1 information requirements for the parties to notify the Secretariat for its final regulatory actions with which they banned or restricted certain hazardous chemicals due to human health or environmental concerns. Then this is basically a right for the parties to submit proposals for listing of severely hazardous pesticide formulations, and this is done under the Article 6 and Annex 4 Part 1 information requirements. Then the next is which chemicals are basically subject to the PIC procedure in accordance to Article 7 and Annex 3. In this part, we are basically providing the information to the latest COPS decision with which parties decided to add new chemicals into Annex 3. For example, in the PIC Circular 51, we are referring to the COP decision, 9th meeting of the conference of the parties, where COP decided to add 2 new chemicals into Annex 3, namely phorate and hexabromochlorododecan. And it also mentioned DGDs for these 2 chemicals that were shared to all the parties, and they were dispatched as you have received them already 16th of September 2019. And in fact, you have 9 months to submit import decision for those 2 newly added chemicals. And I can use your presence here now to invite you to submit import decisions for these 2 newly added chemicals at the last conferences of the parties meeting, if you have not already done so. Then what follows is the obligation under Article 12 and Annex 5 on information exchange on exports and export notifications. Then basically in the implementation part, it's important the information that needs to accompany the exported chemicals in accordance to Article 13. Then information on responses concerning import of chemicals listed in Annex 3 to the Convention in accordance to Article 10. Which information on chemicals should follow in accordance to Article 14, for which the conferences of the parties has yet to take a final decision. Those are so-called candidate chemicals. And then we are providing information on transit movements. The next slide is basically providing the last part of the introduction of the PIC Circular, which refers to the so-called additional information containing 3 parts: information on the status of the ratification of the Rotterdam Convention. In this moment, we have 161 parties. Then the documents that are listed under documents relevant for the implementation of the Convention. You can see here listed all the documents with the respective downloadable links provided. And all these documents are relevant and important for the implementation of the Convention, starting with the text of the Convention, then the DGDs, all the forms and instructions important for submission of import responses, FRA notifications, SHPF proposals, export notifications, notifications for designating national authorities or changes into national authorities contacts. We are providing the links to all the PIC circulars that have been published from the entering into force of the Convention, and then link to the register of DNAs to the Rotterdam Convention. Also, we are providing information for the resource kit, which is a rich collection of publications containing information on the Rotterdam Convention. And this is supposed to help or to assist parties in awareness raising activities and provide detailed technical information and training materials aimed to facilitate the implementation of the Convention. If you see basically, if you can access the PIC Circular and the introduction, you can see that it's quite short actually in terms of length, because it's only 5-6 pages, but it's very informative and provides links with each of the titles and subtitles that goes into the respective webpage of the convention PIC website, where more details are being provided. Then what follows is that after the short introductory part, which is composed of 3 elements, namely purpose of the PIC Circular, implementation, and additional information, then we are basically providing the information in 6 appendices. What follows is information provided in 6 appendices, and they're all linked to the main provisions for the functioning and implementation of the convention, like the information exchange and the PIC procedure for Annex 3 listed chemicals. And each of the appendices provides detailed insights and updates into the latest developments and changes with regards to the fulfillment of the obligations of the parties in relation to the main provisions of the convention. And basically, whatever has changed and whichever information the Secretariat has received in the last 6 months from the publication of the previous PIC Circular goes into these appendices, goes into these pages. And starting with the Appendix 1, with the information on the newly received FRA notifications as part of the information exchange provision for the hazardous chemicals, through the newly received import responses overview, and then finishing with the information exchange provision on chemicals that were recommended for listing in, and this information is provided in the last appendix, Appendix 6. And now I will basically go into each of the appendices one by one, so you get familiarized about their particular content and what they're encompassing, what kind of information they're providing. So Appendix 1 basically contains a compilation of the notifications of final regulatory actions to ban or to severely restrict chemicals that have been received by the Secretariat since the publication of the previous PIC Circular. Is linked to Article 5, which is addressing the procedures for ban or severely restricted chemicals. And these notifications ideally should be submitted by the notifying parties in accordance with the Annex 1 information requirements. Then in the explanatory part, we are providing a link which is which basically leads you to the web page, which provides you the information on the full database of all the notifications of final regulatory actions that historically has been submitted to the Secretariat. With, in this case, the first information provided is the recently issued and published FRA notifications between two PIC circulars that were verified by the Secretariat as containing the Annex 1 information requirements. The slide you see in front of you provides the overview of all the notifications published in the current 51st edition of the PIC Circular. And as you can see, we have received number of notifications meeting Annex 1 information requirements. We have 8 notifications submitted by EU, 7 from Mozambique. They're both submitted in pesticide category, and we have 1 submission in industrial chemicals category. And then if you go over the chemical common name, there is a clickable link which will provide you the summary or the synopsis of the notifications submitted by the Secretariat, which is the information provided in the next slide. And here, the way the information or the summary of the notification is presented is basically resembling the notification form that the party has used to notify the Secretariat, and through the PIC Circular, other parties as well, for its final regulatory action with which they banned or restricted certain chemicals in order to protect human health and environment in accordance to Article 5 and Annex 1 requirements. And the summary actually briefly describes the scope of the action and the reasons, including information on hazards and the risks of the chemical to human health or the environment, and then what is the expected effect of the regulatory action when it entered into force, etc., etc. Then the next slide basically provides the other parts of Appendix 1. We have basically three parts: Part A, Part B, and Part C. Part B provides an overview of the notifications that have been verified by the Secretariat that they are not meeting Annex 1 information requirements. In the current edition of the PIC Circular 51, we have three such notifications. And the last part of Appendix 1 provides notifications of FRAs that are still under verification, and they will be forwarded and they will be basically verified by the Secretariat in the meantime. And you can see them in the next edition of the PIC Circular, that means 52, either in Part A as meeting Annex 1 information requirements, or in Part B as not satisfying or not meeting Annex 2 information requirements. Then what follows is the content and the scope of Appendix 2. And Appendix 2 contains a compilation of the proposals concerning severely hazardous pesticide formulations that have been received by the Secretariat since the publication of the previous PIC Circular. These are linked to the Article 6, and the submissions of proposals for listing of these formulations should be done in accordance to Annex 4, Part 1 of the PIC Circular. As well, the content of Appendix 2 is divided in two parts. Part A provides summaries of proposals verified as complete against the information requirements of Part 1, and Part B provides proposals that are still under verification. In the next slide, you can see that what's the status of the previous PIC Circular, current edition of the PIC Circular. The current edition does not contain any proposals received based on this provision of Article 6. And in the next slide, I'm providing just an example of the latest successful submission of SHPF proposal, which was published in PIC Circular 45 from June 2017, which was considered by the Chemical Review Committee 30th meeting, which basically found that this proposal from Georgia on the lambda cyclolytrine formulation, 50 grams per liter emulsifiable concentrate, was not meeting Annex 4 Part 3 requirements in accordance to the Chemical Review Committee meeting, and therefore was not forwarded to the subsequent conferences of the parties meeting for its consideration. So in this way, you as DNAs, as parties, you can see which parties that are developing countries or countries with economies in transition were experiencing poisoning incidents concerning human health or environment in the last 6 months from the publication of the latest PIC Circular. What follows is the content and the scope of Appendix 3. Appendix 3 resembles the information that we are providing in Annex 3 of the Convention text. Basically contains the list of chemicals included in the Annex 3 and which are basically subject of the PIC procedure. You can see the PIC preferred name, the relevant CAS number. You can see the category under which the chemical is covered in the PIC procedure, whether we are talking about pesticide, whether the chemical is listed as industrial chemical or severely hazardous pesticide formulation. And also you can see the date of dispatch of the decision guidance document, after which parties have usually 9 months to provide the import decision for this chemical that has been recently listed into Annex 3. This provision is linked to Article 7, when the decision to list a chemical in Annex 3 has been taken and the related DGD has been approved by the conferences of the parties. And the Secretariat should usually communicating this information to all the parties. And also is linked to Article 11 obligations in relation to export of chemicals listed in Annex 3. What follows is Appendix 4, and Appendix 4 contains the information compiling all of the import responses for Annex 3 listed chemicals received from parties. Contains a clickable link to the online database that is presented with 4 tabs, and that you can see in the next slide. The first one provides information on the newly submitted or transmitted import responses from basically for this edition from 1st of November till 30th of April 2020. This goes basically directly to the website where we are presenting this information, as I mentioned, in 2 tabs. And these import responses that have been recently transmitted are provided as an overview into the Appendix 4, listing all the newly submitted import decisions from parties for Annex 3 chemicals, and also is the clickable link provides also information on the import responses provided by party, import responses that have been, you can find import responses provided per chemical, and you can find information on cases of failure to submit import responses. So if you want to see which parties are still supposed to submit import decisions for the 52 chemicals that are already part of Annex 3, you can check it in the database of import responses, which through a link is provided in the Appendix 4 explanatory part of the PIC Circular. Then, as I've mentioned, this information as an overview is provided in the PIC Circular itself, providing the overview of all the pesticides, severely hazardous pesticide formulations, or industrial chemicals for which the parties have submitted import responses in the last 6 months. What follows is, I would just like to give a short overview also on Appendix 5, which contains a tabular summary of notifications of final regulatory actions for banned or severely restricted chemicals, which are not included in Annex 3 and received by the Secretariat since 1998. And this is linked to the provisions of Article 5. And basically, under Article 5, when the Secretariat has received 2 notifications, subsequently that are verified as complete from 2 parties coming from 2 different PIC regions, these notifications shall be forwarded to the Chemical Review Committee. And the Chemical Review Committee is reviewing the information provided in those notifications, and in accordance with the criteria that are set in Annex 2 of the Convention text, is recommending to the conferences of the parties whether the chemical in question should be made subject to the PIC procedure and listed in the Annex 3 of the Convention. This appendix also consists of 2 parts, is divided in 2 parts. Part A contains tabular summary of notifications of final regulatory actions for banned or severely restricted chemicals that were verified to meet the information requirements of Annex 1. And Part B for those notifications that the Secretariat found that are not meeting information requirements of Annex 1. And you can see this information presented as a tabular summary in the PIC Circular that you have received 12th of June. The tabular summary lists the chemicals names, the CAS number, the notifying country, and the respective PIC region for each notification received since 1998, and that has been verified as meeting Annex 1 requirements. It also indicates in which PIC Circular the summary was published and whether the chemical is already included in the PIC procedure. Information on the scope of the regulatory actions can be found in the PIC Circular as listed below. The next slide provides basically part B, those notifications that we have received and we have verified as not meeting Annex 1 information requirement, also providing the basic information, basic details provided through the notification in terms of the CAS number, the category, the country, the submitting country, and the PIC region, and the PIC Circular where these notifications were listed in the basically Appendix 1 Part B, and we don't have clickable link for the full overview of those notifications because these notifications simply are not fulfilling or not meeting Annex 1 information requirements. And then what is important, what follows is basically the last Appendix 6, which was developed to facilitate the information exchange on chemicals that have been recommended for listing in Annex 3 of the Convention by the Chemical Review Committee, but the conferences of the parties has yet to take a final decision, or there was no consensus to reach a final decision. So those chemicals that have been recommended for listing were added into Annex 3. You can see the basically the 5 chemicals that are recommended for listing pending addition into Annex 3 and further COP consideration. We have one industrial chemical, Hazardous asbestos. We have 2 severely hazardous pesticide formulations, paraquat dichloride and fenthion, and we have 2 pesticides, carbosulfan and acetoflor, that are pending this decision. There is a clickable link provided that can lead you into the web page where you can find more detailed information referring to those chemicals in terms of notifications submitted, when COP decisions, CRC decision in terms of decision to be added into Annex 3, rational DGD that was developed by the Chemical Review Committee, etc., etc. Part A of the PIC Circular related to the Appendix 6 provides a reference to the information that has been submitted by the parties on their decision concerning the management of those chemicals that I just mentioned. And Part B provides an overview of, those countries or parties that have decided to submit import decisions for these candidate chemicals based on voluntary basis. And as you can see, we have a couple of parties that have decided to submit import decisions. Canada, for example, for chrysotile asbestos, European Union also for chrysotile asbestos, Qatar for paraquat, and we have the latest submission from Nigeria that decided to provide import response on fenthion as well. And then as we are sending out the PIC Circular to the parties, it's accompanied by a cover letter where we are providing additional information which the Secretariat is using to reach out to parties like CRC meetings, decision at CRC meetings, then outcomes and decisions of these CRC meetings, DGD documents, COPS outcomes and decisions, and also we are providing the DNA register that is accompanying the PIC Circular with the latest, most updated information of all the DNA contact details submitted by the parties in accordance to the Article 4 with regards to the designated national authorities. You can see here the example of the latest cover letter we have sent out to the parties, and an example of the DNA register, which under Article 4 is we as a Secretariat are required to inform parties of the new nominations and changes of nomination of DNAs. The last slide with which I'm concluding, I would like basically to emphasize that the PIC Circular represents the most comprehensive implementation and information sharing document that is produced by the Secretariat. It unites the most up-to-date information combined with the historical memory and the database created of all the input responses and notifications of the final regulatory actions submitted by the parties related to the main provisions of the Convention. You know that this is a living, changing document that always can be improved for the sake of your own benefit. In a sense, this is a document that was created and fed with information from you as parties, and then basically it comes back to you again through the Secretariat in a format and in a structure that you were able to see during this presentation. We are looking forward to your feedback. With this, I would like to thank you and for joining this webinar session. I would like to pass over to Suman again and to invite you to ask you to ask questions. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alec. It was very informative presentation you just made. I'm sure all the participants will agree that it was we would need this kind of interaction from time to time. Thank you very much. Now I open the floor for discussion. If there are any questions, please you raise your hand, and then I will give floor to the person who raised his hand first. You know how to raise the hand. Dan had already explained you, so I wait. The floor is open. Please go ahead. And if you cannot raise hand, or you can even ask question through the chat box, that is also possible. There is a chat box. You can write your question in the chat box, and whom you are asking that question, that is also possible, or we can figure it out who to reply.
So we have a raised hand from Martin Lacroix.
I cannot see that. Okay. Please, Martin Lacroix, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Suman and Alexander. This is very, very well presented, and really the PIC Circular is a really key piece of information for all of us to implement the convention. I had a question with regards to looking forward in the future. I know that all this information is available on the website as well, but I was wondering whether or not there were internal discussions or foreseeing how to maybe render access to the data in a way that parties could, manipulate the data to do some research or to find out what is more specific to them. So basically, like some type of Excel or XML or version of the data that comprises all this information that you have in different databases. I was just wondering if whether or not, this was something that was being discussed internally, because this is a wealth of information. And sometimes, if you're looking for specific information for your domestic implementation, sometimes it takes some time to navigate through. So I was wondering whether or not, looking into the future, whether or not other means of sharing that data were being discussed. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Martin, for a very good question. How do we do? Maybe we answer the question as it comes, and if we will have several hands being raised, then we will answer at last. Maybe to Martin, I do not know if there is any restriction, because all the information that we have is public good, and it is in the website, and all the information can be accessed and can be used for any research or whatever you want to do with that information. So that is available. On the extracting it into the Excel sheet, I'm not quite sure. I have heard our IT colleagues at some point talking about having this information in Excel, but I need to get the confirmation from my IT colleagues, if that is what you meant to ask. Is that what you asked, Martin?
Can I add something?
Please, Alex.
Martin, this is very, very good question, and our IT colleagues in the Secretariat are able to do this basically through we have so-called clearinghouse mechanism, which is important tool for us and for the parties itself, in terms of making the information that this rich source of information we have available, making it easily accessible to parties. But this is actually a very good proposal on providing this information in directly to you in this kind of extractable format, and it's a very good suggestion. We will talk internally with our IT colleagues, and I'm sure that either this can be done via specific, let's say, password clickable link directly shared with the DNA or the person that has interest to do so, or it can be done. For sure, now it can be done based on request, like specific request by the DNA itself or by the party itself. But we will look into it, how we can make this information more accessible to you as stakeholders and as parties. It's a very good suggestion. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alec. Does that satisfy you, Martin?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. And are there any other questions? Dan, do you see any hands being raised?
No, Sumana, I've sent you a message in the chat. However, I see that we have a message from Hamidullah saying thanking for providing the presentation and asking if it can be shared with the participants. And I can answer this because this presentation will be shared in a follow-up email towards the end of the meeting, and you will receive it along with a questionnaire that we would kindly ask you to respond to.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Yes, we are going to share this. Also, we'll be sending you out a questionnaire for you to complete. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Hamdullah, for your question. Are there any other questions?
There's a question from Sam in the chat, Suman.
Hi, Sam. Yes, I see your question. Ghana is requesting for training on PIC Circular and other implementation aspects of the Rotterdam Convention. This form part of our special program project. Can this be done for us? So you are asking, can this proposal be developed for the special program on the PIC Circular capacity building? Is that what your question?
Hello. Yes. What I'm saying is that, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can
yes.
you hear me? Yes. So I'm only requesting that we are implementing the special program projects, and we have earmarked part of it for training for our officers who work on the Rotterdam Convention. And these are some of the things that will require expertise in, say, working so that we can fulfill all the obligations under the convention, including the PIC Circular. So I'm asking whether you could really make a tailor, you can maybe get us some kind of program that could provide training as part of our project implementation.
Very good question. Alec, would you like to answer?
Well, if the special program project is encompassing the implementation of the Rotterdam Convention, and if we receive such a request, I don't see a reason why this cannot be done. So I would say yes, please share with us this information, send the request, and I'm sure that we can respond positively to this.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Alec. Thank you, Sam, for the question. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, my hand is still up here. Can you tell us?
Yes, Sam, please go ahead.
Yes, can you tell us the level of compliance from the African region or from other developing countries in response to these PIC circular? Because it's like we are not doing much, and I foresee perhaps also other colleagues from other countries in Africa or elsewhere in the development we're not doing much. So can you give us some idea of maybe how we are doing, in compliance with this? Thank you.
As a Africa region as a whole, you mean?
Level of can I try to clarify something? Level of compliance with which specific
with import response? Probably he is trying to indicate.
Yes.
Well,
yes. Yeah.
I think it's difficult now to provide a rough estimate on how each PIC region is compiling in this sense in terms of responding to the PIC procedure provision in terms of submitting import decisions for the Annex 3 listed chemicals, or in terms of submitting notifications for whichever chemical the African parties have banned or restricted at national level. We can, this information basically, if you see if you go to the web page, the database of import responses, if you click the fourth tab, which refers to the failure of each particular party to submit import response, you can see how the African parties are doing in this regard, or how much import responses they're still lacking to submit. In terms of notifications, this number always can go higher, but for that we need to have a overview of which actions at national level the countries, with which actions at national level the countries, which chemicals at national level the countries have banned or restricted, and we do not have always that information. So basically, whenever a country does restrict a chemical, automatically by the obligations of Article 5 within 3 months needs to notify the Secretariat. So in terms of this provision, it's difficult also to judge what is the compliance. And then we have these export notifications. That is something that is not really reflected through the PIC Circular as an information, but this communication that goes between an exporting party of banned or restricted chemical at the exporting party itself when it goes to the importing party for this type of chemical in terms of this provision under Article 12 for export notifications for restricted hazardous chemicals at national level at the exporting party level. So if you want more details or more detailed answer, we can send it to you. And if not, I think the website itself is providing sufficient information on the level of compliance with regards to these 3 main provisions of the convention, which are reflected in the PIC Circular itself, because now we are talking about the PIC Circular.
Thank you, Alec. I'm sure this replies to the query of Sam. And
yes.
Yeah, Sam, do you have a follow-up question further?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I have a follow-up question on the Appendix 6, the list of chemicals which are still pending, as we all know. Another COP is coming in 2021 in July, and which will be, a year ahead of us. And I wonder whether there will be any progress on the pending chemicals, because we don't want to be adding, and then we are having a list of chemicals which are with no decision. So what has been done by the Secretariat so far on the pending 5 chemicals? Thank you.
Yes, we have been raising awareness. We have been sharing it through the PIC Circular and Annex 6, as just Alec mentioned. This is what we are doing. This is at the end. It will be the party who will have to make the decision during the COPs, right? So from our side, we have been trying to reach out to share it through every means possible. That this has been the case. This is what has been recommended by the CRC, and this has been all the information, technical information, DGD, all available information is being shared with the parties, and the awareness has been raised. Is a continuous process. And Alec, if you want to add, please feel free.
Well, I think more or less, Suman, you answered this question, and I think in the coming period, the Secretariat will step up its efforts, trying to reach out to parties, explaining the importance of basically adding those chemicals that, these 5 chemicals that will be considered again in the upcoming conferences of the parties meeting, 10th one in 1 year time from now. I have nothing more to add to this. We will try to basically to reach out to parties in general to raise awareness about this important aspect of the implementation and of the compliance with the convention, and especially to those parties that were not in agreements in the previous meetings. And in the end, this is something that it's up to the parties basically to decide in the next meeting and in the following ones. We will try to step up the efforts in the let's say we have one more year before the next COP, on top of what already has been done and what we are already doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Alec. I just wanted to inform also to you that to all the colleagues, to all the participants, that we have already shared the presentation and the questionnaire, and we will be looking forward to receive your inputs through those evaluation questionnaires. Please take some moment and complete those and send us back if possible just after this session, because the questions are very simple. Only 7 questions are there, 7 or 8 questions, and very simple questions. Please help us complete those evaluation questionnaires and send back to us. And here I see a question coming from, I don't know the name, it says Dale, probably he's using, he or she is using the Dell computer. The question is, thank you for the presentation. Sorry? Thank you for the presentation. I wanted to ask that Rotterdam Convention is doing to assist, what is Rotterdam Convention is doing to assist developing countries to be able to generate scientific data to support their proposals on FRA regarding certain chemicals. It's a great question, and I'm sure how you were missed, because we have been doing these capacity building workshops, training, regional, sub-regional level. It's happening all the time. Only during this pandemic, we have not been able to reach out to the parties. We also are doing sometimes even national consultation meetings for parties. So this is happening, and please let us know your need, so that we will have this in our list, and then we will be able to invite you, provide the training or capacity building on this regard. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Suman, I have forwarded you a series of questions and comments in the chat.
Okay, in the chat. Let me see. And then colleagues, so Aita Sheikh, also coming from Aita Sheikh, made evaluation using it. Thank you very much. Let me see. Question. And
there is a comment from Geneva that says, thank you for the presentation. Most of the developing countries don't have supporting documents on FRAs, thus need financial support and support financially and technically to develop scientific data. So this is a comment by Geneva. There's a question from Rita who says, have you made an evaluation to know how the results are used by the parties?
What evaluation? Could you be more specific? What evaluation you are talking about? Have you made an evaluation to know how the results are used by parties? What results are used by parties, and what evaluation you're talking about? Please, if you could clarify your question. On the Geneva's question, yes, we have been providing technical assistance to the parties in developing countries to understand, to collect information, and also the information that is being provided through the FRAs, DGD. All this information is being provided is to support parties to understand, to make the good decision. And on top of that, there are several farm school initiatives, several good initiatives are going around. Our colleagues from Rome are doing some good things. Our colleagues from Geneva also doing some good things. So just let us know what exactly you are looking, what information you are looking. Please let us know so that we can cater your need. I think I answered your question on that. And
Suman?
Sam is asking something.
Yes, there is a comment from Suman who says, I would like to engage the Secretariat further on the training program mentioned earlier regarding the special program project. And there is an additional comment from Hamidullah who says, yes, I agree with Sam about this request. In our country, we are also facing the problem with the proper implementation of this convention. Even in the higher level of our government, there is a lack of adequate familiarity with the implementation of this convention, and even some are not familiar with the name of the convention for the floor.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, this is unfortunate situation in developing countries. We have, or most of the time, the focus is more on towards other important things, and these conventions, these are kind of just left out, are not receive adequate attention as they need. But even then, we understand those dynamics out there in the developing countries. For that reason, we have a solid technical assistance program for not only for the Rotterdam Convention. We have Basel, Rotterdam, and Stockholm Convention, where we try to see if there are possibilities to synergize. If we're doing something for the Stockholm Convention, if the national implementation plan is being developed or updated, then we see the possibility to also combine it with the mandate of Rotterdam, so that while doing the NIP, it also helps implementing the Rotterdam Convention, also the Basel Convention. So efforts are being made from the Secretariat, from the parties. Parties have given that mandate, given the resource, and then based on those mandate and resources, we have been developing our TA program, and that is happening, being implemented. This was particularly a difficult year. We because of this current pandemic, have not been able to reach you out the way we've been going around. We've been reaching you out in the past, but in coming days, we definitely will do that. And then as we will be getting more mandates and more resources, then the request like this, if we keep receiving, that will help us also to make us equipped and going out to help you out. So this is my take, and if there is anything that Alec would want to add on, please, Alec, go ahead.
Suman, thank you.
Yes, please.
I'm reading the comments and the questions, and in general, what I can suggest to all the DNAs, especially those that are writing from the developing countries, to write us, to contact the Secretariat with their specific needs, with their specific requests, and based on that, we will try to answer you positively and to accommodate that request based on our availability and the financial resources we are having in that very moment. And basically, this is part of our technical assistance program. And just please try to reach us out and to contact us with your specific needs, and we will see how we can respond and what we can arrange in a certain time frame after we have received specific request for technical assistance. With regards to the implementation of the convention at national level, both submission of final regulatory action notifications, import decisions, export notifications, whichever aspect of management with chemicals, pesticides, etc. So just send us out a request, and we will look at it in detail, and we will respond you as soon as possible.
Thank you, Alec. And since we have already passed like 10 minutes from our scheduled time. So if there are not a very pressing question, if someone wanted to ask but then had forgotten or just is in queue of asking, otherwise let us conclude. And I would like to thank you very much for such a huge participation. It's really great. I'm really impressed. The whole secretariat is impressed with your enthusiasm and your participation, your questions. I'm sure we will. This has encouraged us to design this kind of webinar very often. Maybe in few months we will come back. Maybe, or if you suggest that we should have this kind of sessions after every PIC circular is out, I think it is a doable thing. We can do that also, depending on your suggestion. Thank you very much for your active participation, and I wish you stay safe. You know, with this current pandemic environment, this is very important for us to stay safe for ourselves and for our loved ones. Thank you very much again for participating and actively interacting with us in this webinar. And Alec, if you want to say something, and please feel free.
Thank you, Suman. Thank you very much for your participation. I would like to ask you to stay tuned. Next week, another webinar from the webinar series that the Rotterdam Convention Secretariat is following. On Wednesday, we have a webinar on children and exposure to hazardous pesticides. It's going to be on Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. Rome, Geneva time. So I would invite you to follow us and to hear what we have to say. Thank you very much for your participation in this webinar. And as Suman mentioned, for sure, based on this interest, we're gonna repeat similar webinar in near future, addressing again the PIC Circular. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sam. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for the presentation. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Okay, goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.